Hello and welcome to Marathon Swim Stories, where we explore the human side of superhuman feats of endurance swimmers, or as in the case of today, endurance support kayakers. I'm marathon swimmer and coach, Shannon Keegan. Today I had the joy and pleasure of chatting with marathon swim support kayaker Gary Golden. As swimmers, we're trying to get to the bottom of why these volunteers sign themselves up to support marathon swimmers as they attempt to bust borders and cross lakes in what isn't usually placid conditions. Wind, waves, and even rain are part of the adventure, and as it turns out, our kayakers might not be that different from us. They just prefer the view from above the water. I feel so fortunate to meet folks who understand my brand of crazy enough to sign up for adventures with me. Thank you, Gary, and to all the support kayakers out there. Reach out to me if you'd like to share your story. Shannon@intrepidwater.com. Enjoy. Without further ado, Gary, what got you into all of this marathon swimming madness? How did you end up kayaking for marathon swimmers?
Probably, 10 years ago, almost. Just did a random kayak events search on the internet, and up popped IROC and Kingdom Swim and Son of Swim, and it's been constant since. I did 3, I think, that first year, and then as Phil added more, I did more. So, and that was a fateful year that you and I shared the midnight swim of his sort of inaugural search for Memphre
in 2011. Yeah.
Yes. The swim where I think his quote was, "Someone's going to die tonight."
Yeah, something.
But I think you in the group, the relay that went back, like halfway through.
Yeah. Did you get to the other side?
Yeah.
So you were in a kayak for 15,
I was in a kayak
hours.
for Emma with Don. Yep. We made it to Owl's Head pretty much before hypothermia set in for a couple of us, actually, swimmer and me. So
were you on the fateful the pontoon boat that almost went under because we had so much weight on it? Were you on that one?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I think I've been there for the memorable ones. Some I've created, actually. So
tell us a good kayak memory. What's your best/worst?
We'll go back to that same search. That was what hooked me. So
this was what hooked you. Okay, this is good.
So I was okay till then, but at Kingdom Swim, Willoughby, Don and Emma asked if I wanted to join them at that point, Phil was doing 2 kayaks and we were sharing a pontoon boat. Big mistake. But anyway, so I said, sure. And so it's a midnight start from Newport, and the bay is calm. So I'm in I think I have 2 layers. I'm dressed for the next day. Fine. It's really 2 different swims for the kayaker. It's overnight, 40s, wet usually, and then can be kind of hot for the day. So I'm set for the day. We get through the bay, turn north into 3-foot waves. And I think I ended up with about 1 foot of water by, 3 or 4 o'clock. And no raincoat, it was Gary being so stupid, no spray skirt. I was Mr. Optimist that night. But, we turned north into the waves and I'm in heaven. It's like those of us, I've seen a couple of olders in here who, grew up with Hawaii 5-0 with the big outriggers fighting through the wave. Da, 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 da. I was in heaven. I'm laughing. Don, I'm not sure about Don. He seemed to laugh. I think he was humoring me. But from then on, it was like, that's my yearly adventure, is doing search. So, I tell people, oh yeah, we start at 11, we start at midnight, paddle through the night. It's, you guys are freezing, we're freezing, but I think that year Mars was off to the east, and that was through the night. I've seen comets, had two loons singing across the boat from each side. Where else would I want to be? Sunset over the convent. It's an amazing time, and I just went, yeah, I'm hooked. So this will be year 11, and I think I'm between 75 and 100 limbs, I think, that I've escorted. That might be an exaggeration, but there's a few. It's definitely over 50 for just Phil. So
right. Wow. Okay. Yeah. And that year that you kayaked for me across Memphre, you had done a couple miles prior to that. What was that? What was that
God. Mr. Ego that night. So you're paddling out to swim, and I'm going, oh yeah, this will be 64 miles when we finish that I've done in 2 weeks. Gary, good grief. But yeah, that was a year and a half ago. It just turned out I did Manhattan the end of July. End of August. And then a friend from the valley over here asked me to help do around her island where they have a house. So it's 25 miles for Manhattan. That was 14 or 15, and then yours was 25. Within
you had also done
11 days. 11. Well, I don't think it was a big deal. The day after I did Manhattan, a swimmer did reverse. Janine would have to fill in the details. So Alex and a couple of other kayakers did 25 on Saturday and then reverse current 25 the next day. I think that's much more impressive than mine. But our adventure was, I hadn't gone through fog. That was very different for you.
That was,
and our getting a little unattached to our pontoon boat.
You were very calm about it, though.
Well, it was sort of I won't say my doing. There's that, again, setting it up. So we're in the fog. It's 3 a.m. And as we got away from shore, it was really thick fog. And there's this damn cross illuminated across the bay that we're heading into. Well, Gary, being a little sleep-addled, I thought that was Charlotte and the boat. Well, no, it's a cross, and it's not guiding us to salvation. It's actually kind of screwing us up a little bit. So it's like, and I'm hearing, I got Charlotte on the radio, and I'm kind of trying to talk to her, but reassure you that we're okay. But I did not have a light that could break through that same cross for them to see us. So it's like, well, we're heading west, and I'm looking at these lights, and I'll see you guys in a minute. And then we turn north, and it's like, okay, we're turning north. It worked out. It was fine. Everybody, you had the best crew possible. Charlotte being on the pontoon, and the pilot there, it was fine. I hoped you weren't too nervous. I know you're going, Gary, what's going on? I could kind of see you eyeballing me a little more often than usual.
It's definitely what's going on minute. But you calmed me down. I was just knowing that it was when you were honest with me. You're like, well, I'm not sure where the boat is, but we're just going to keep going. Like, okay, yep. Cool.
I've got my food, so you can share my food. I don't know what it'll do to your system, but. It's like anytime I try to explain to the family why I do this, it's like they're worried that it's unsafe. I'm going, this is the safest thing I do all year. It's more dangerous driving to Newport and back than it is to be on the water. You guys, a little different, but I think it's my job to be calm and kind of say, yeah, we're going to be fine. We know where we're going. We'll get there as long as I keep you out of the weeds and me out of the rocks, and we've got your food, we're going to be okay. And once we hooked back up, it was fine. It was a fun night.
Yeah.
And your last big swim, probably.
Yeah. I haven't done anything since then.
Yeah.
How about your favorite place to paddle? Where's that?
Oh, geez. Willoughby, probably. It's such an amazing lake. I wish it was about, a couple of miles longer. But
yeah.
either, yeah, coming, I think I feel bad for the swimmers on these days, but the kind of cloudy, rainy days with that glacial cut that you're coming into is just amazing. So I think for beauty and just a sweet little lake. But Memphre's got, if you do the search, just that sunrise, okay, again, setting. So about 4 or 5 miles north of the border, the lake splits, for those who don't know. And there's this monastery stuck right in the middle of the split. And it looks like a castle out of the medieval times. And so the timing works out that you're coming out of the dusk or dawn into some sunlight, and bam, there's the monastery. It's just, and it's in the fog. It's just always in the fog. There's something going on there. And it's just amazing. The rest of the day is a slog for you guys, I know, and pretty uneventful. But between the night, Owl's Head, the dawn, and getting through the 4 to 5:30 doldrums for everyone. Katie's the only other person who's completed on a swim that I've escorted, and she was falling asleep part way. So we're pumping caffeine into her to keep her going. She's cold, the whole bit, everything you guys go through. You guys are the craziest people I know. You just are. And I think that's part of the attraction. You're not as crazy as ice swimmers. That's a whole different category. But I think just long distance swimmers in general, you're crazy. There's no other way to put it. And then there's Janine. But anyway.
Well, yes, we'll take our flavors of crazy and we'll go together wherever we go. I love it. But tell me about conditions. So you said, you don't mind rain. You said wind was pretty exciting. Tell me what your favorite kind of conditions to paddle in.
My least favorite, I've adjusted my boats along the year. So now I have this kind of high-tech inflatable that's impervious to, I think I could make a tsunami in that thing. It's not going to sink. It's not going to do anything. Early on, I had my little sleek 16-foot sea kayak. Is it built for escorting? Not really. So my first or second Kingdom swim, I capsized because it was a stern wind at an angle, and a 2 or 3 foot wave caught me because of north wind. It caught me just right, and I've seen people go over that on that swim. I was not the first one, so I had everything tied down. I didn't lose the camera. I think I lost a hat, but I lost the feed because my swimmer had come with, this is the worst. So he came from London. Yep. He came from London, and I don't know if you've been, but they have those tall, narrow milk jugs. That's what I had for feed. That was filled with his feed. I would put it in a cup and hand it to him in 2 foot waves. Oh my gosh. It was like, so I felt bad for him because that's what I lost when I went over. And so we were probably between Phil's Islands and the point leading into the bay. So he still had about an hour and a half or 2 hours with no feed. He was so bad off that when we went to East Side afterwards, we had to get a straw for his beer.
Oh, wow. Because
he couldn't raise his arms. I mean, he was one tired and sore little man, but he finished. So,
So what's the weirdest thing that? Oh wait, no. So we didn't get to the bottom of conditions. We get to the bottom of conditions first, and then we'll move to the next thing.
Okay. So I probably do prefer headwinds. I don't mind rain. Now, I have the two bags that go with me everywhere after that first Memphre. So one is wet and one is cold. And so they're always there, always a spray skirt, though, not for the inflatable. So the conditions, I don't mind. Whatever. If you guys can do it, I can do it. It's sort of my mindset. Janine asked a question about the tailwinds and kind of having a drag. I don't mind them. Part of it is, do you guys, you as a swimmer, do you like head or tail? Because all of you have your preferences for that as well. So
we don't feel it the same way you do above the water, though.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't know. You haven't been to Scar yet, have you?
No, that's on my bucket list.
I love it. I love the kayaker bucket list. That's great. That's where my husband was like he was having a really hard time with the wind.
Yep.
It was easier just to call it.
Got it. So no, I don't care. I've done it long enough, and I'm cocky enough that I don't feel like I'm going to get into a situation I can't handle. And hopefully that remains true, because the one who would suffer from my cockiness would be you as a swimmer, not me. But no, I think, all the lakes that we do are, they're pretty friendly lakes. Memphre, the least, because of, if you get that north wind coming down the lake, it's got a long way to build up waves. So that's probably the scarier of the lakes, but it's so far so good.
So when it comes to feeds, if a swimmer's coming on board, we'll start with just what's your recommendation to swimmer, and then we'll get into the interesting stuff.
I don't know if I have one. All of you are pretty eccentric about your feeds, which is totally understandable. I can get by on fig Newtons and almonds and my chai, and I'm a happy camper. So you guys, I think Nadine tried a Massawippi double, but changed her feed like a week or two before. Ooh, didn't go well. She tried to gut it out, literally, and made it back north to south, and then back north to about Blueberry Hill, and we had to bail. So I think it's really, I'll do whatever feed you guys ask me to do.
Right.
I bring my own Polar bottles now after the milk jug incident. So I'll give you the feeds that way. But otherwise it's whatever you guys have to make it. I'm more than willing to do. Baby food was the hardest feed I think I had to do. That was kind of yucky. But there have been a couple of strange ones.
Tell us.
Oh God, I think there was a peanut butter apricot jam sort of mushed up bread. It wasn't even really a little sandwich. It was just bread in there, and it was like, okay, here. Kind of, how daintily can I hand that Ziploc to you? Because it wasn't something I was going to hand to them. But, usually, probably for long swims, I think I didn't handle yours. I mean, Charlotte had you all geared up for hers. Yeah. I mean, she was amazing. It was like a buffet.
It was.
I kept looking over, going,
"What about me?"
Fig Newtons. I'm tired of fig Newtons. Come on. It really is whatever you guys need. I'm more than willing.
Yeah. Is it helpful if someone brings all their feeds in a bag, or, like, how do you like the handoff, and
I
or people like
think,
write it all out? Like, what's your preference
oh,
for?
speaking of, Charlotte's the best about, I mean, it's annotated. I'm looking for footnotes at the end about, I do this because, she's not that bad, but, she really will. First couple of times, I think we've gotten now where it's like, we know each other well enough. But early on, it was, okay, this 20 minutes, this, at this 20 minutes, this, at this. I'm just going, okay. But I've had 2 hours of sleep, so I can't really vouch that I will keep this straight. And then I've teased Janet Harris that if she makes me mad, I'll mix up her feeds and give her the wrong thing, or not be at the exact spot she wants me to be on the kayak. But we haven't gotten there, so we're okay. So I need instructions for new people, but at this point, I've had other kayakers brag me about this. I sort of only kayak for people I know at this point, and it usually is fine because I'm already like almost totally booked up next summer. So it's not like a big thing. I'm not telling anybody. It's just everybody's already gotten me who's put up with me in the past.
Yeah.
So I'm still waiting for Janine to ask for next summer, but she's holding out. I don't know what's up.
Are you ever curious about the swimmers, what they're doing? Would you rather be in the water?
No. on the be in the water. I'm curious. I've thought about this since you asked me to come on about kayaker swimmer friendships. We share these amazing events, and yet, what do we know about each other? We really don't. I know you because you've had your kids at the swims, and your husband. I know you packed up and went west with him, and I know things about you. I know things. Right. Janine, I know a lot about, and she's the person I always say I want her life, because she's got this half the year south, half the year north, and doing all these fun things. I'm going, I want to be her when I grow up. I know bits and pieces, but it's not a real, it's not a typical friendship. It's very atypical in that way. Cause I'll go to dinner, to do prep with, before a swim. And after we've talked prep, it's like, what do we talk about now?
Yeah. So
we can talk about our jobs, but I'm retired. It's a different animal.
Yeah.
But it's still fun. It's just different.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah. And then at the end of it, you have this amazing, adventure that you've had together, like you were saying. And so you can always like talk back to that, but it's different. It's just like that thing that we did that one time.
Yeah. And I'm sort of in control of the relationship while you guys are in the water, because you're just, like this, you've got about 20 degrees of eyesight within an hour or two of just, you're looking at the boat and you're looking down and then you're looking away, and that's your range of motion, but you're really only seeing little bits of each side, and maybe fish going by. Otherwise, it's me saying, time to eat. You come eat. Well, did you pee? Are you warm? Are you okay? It's very kayak controlled in some ways, which is, it's got to be, because you guys are shutting down the longer you're in the swim. So I think you need the kayaker to do that, but it's still, it kind of makes the relationship interesting.
Yes. Yeah. Agreed. Have you had any tense moments with any swimmers where they get really?
Part of my decision to only kayak for people I know, I ended up on Nadine had to drop out of Kingdom's Border Buster because of surgery, And so I got this person from Europe at the last minute who had never done a side-by-side swim with a kayaker. It was a kayaker out front. And I'm going, you can't, you're not going to do 15 miles of looking up at me, every couple of strokes. It didn't go well. Bumping it. Fortunately for her, it's a rubber boat. Doesn't hurt when you bang into it. Because we did that all the way north. Even had one of the buoy boats or the escort boats say, well, you need to get her on track. I'm going, well, maybe you should tell her that. And the weather knocked us out before the time would have knocked us out. But so after that, I went, I think I'll go with the ones I know or recommended. So, I mean, I'll break that rule occasionally. I mean, I hadn't done with you before, but I knew you. So I'm going, okay, we'll be fine. And we were. We had our trial runs in the Swim the Kingdom and, okay, I think we can do Memphre. So it was fun.
Yeah, it's great.
So what did you think of my kayaking?
Trying to turn the
table?
table?
Back on the spot. Yeah.
It was, I'm trying to think. I've had other kayakers in the past who you tell them when you want to feed and then they don't really bother to tell you that it's time to feed when you're supposed to. And you're like, okay. So I had to be, I'd be more assertive about my need to feed. And with you, so I guess having had an experience like that, and my husband had paddled for me for years till we had kids. And then we realized his preference was to be at home with the kids, then let me be on the boat, which is it's a great thing that for anyone to figure that out with your relationship.
I've seen not so good husband spouse paddling teams. Yeah, no. All right.
But no, you were fantastic, Gary.
Well, thank you. Was I shopping for that? Did I reel you in on that one?
Yeah.
Well, it's actually a good sign that you kind of had to think about it, because that means I did well.
Right.
That
I wasn't like, there was that time. It's like, I've been meaning to tell you this,
Gary. That could be fun too, though.
Right.
At that time, you made me run into you so that I would pay attention to you. There are a couple of swimmers out there that have that story.
Right. Yeah, I imagine. Yeah. Have you had any really emotional swimmers where you had to calm them down or anything?
Well, Janine, I mean, come on. She's missed out there when she's swimming. No, not really. I think the person that I hadn't done the side-by-side, I think that was a really hard swim for her. Mm-hmm. I think it was very disorienting to have me trying to set a lane for her. It's, in my thinking, the swimmer can swim the course or they can swim the lake. And when I say swim the lake, they're really swimming the lake. And that would have been us. She really wanted us to head out in the middle of the lake, and I'm kind of going, well, you can, but you're going to add a mile or two, and that's not going to be a lot of fun about 4 o'clock this afternoon. So that one, I think that was probably one of the more tense ones. That was one of two that I've had like that, and the other one we weren't even speaking at the end of it, and because that's about half a mile. It's Willoughby, about half a mile. I'm going, I don't think this is working. I'm going to make sure you get to the shore, but you spot the shore because you seem to be intent on not doing what I'm asking. So
interesting.
I kept her safe, and then we just we did the obligatory picture at the end, and then, got that out of my system early as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's unfortunate. I mean, I perceive, until you tell me, but I perceive kayaking as kind of a thankless job.
Well, my last job was working with students with behavioral issues, so Thankless is sort of my norm. It's my default for a task. No, I think there are varying degrees of that. I have pretty low expectations about being thanked or gifted. I still have your hat downstairs. And I just need a little acknowledgement. And regretfully, I'll hold on a little while to the ones that, I did a crazy one a couple of summers ago, and after the swim was over, I'd never heard from the person. It was a crazy swim and day, and I'm kind of going, I need it a little from you, just email me, so I don't expect it. I like it. I do like it. And the gifting gets a little out of control sometimes. I've tried to say to people, T-shirt for my daughter. That's all I need. Size large, So, and just keep it simple.
Do you prefer a tip? Like some cash?
No. I don't mind. You guys are spending enough money doing this crazy thing that you do without having to subsidize me. No, I need a little memento. So, when my daughter headed off to China 2 trips ago, she had on an Ottawa T-shirt from Nadine and a Kingdom Swim hoodie, sweatshirt. And I was like, yeah, okay, I like this. That's really kind of where I am. I need, some way, that's sort of my reward to them, or payment to the family for letting me go for these times. So it's kind of cute.
Yeah. Tell us about induction into the Vermont Open Water Swimming Hall of Fame.
Unexpected, appreciated, sweet group of people. So I think that's sort of, Don and I have been to the war, so that he was in the same group was very nice. I think I had done a couple of kayaks for Charlotte, who's sort of the ringleader for that. So that was a nice connection. And then, different people, Elaine, Liz Fry were in the group. It was a nice day. It's that seedy bar that Phil takes us to, and just kind of going, oh, this is nice. This is what I grew up with, going with my brother to play pool and knock back a few. Texas, my Texas county was dry, so we had to go to Arkansas County to drink and play pool. But it was the same play. I'm going, okay, this is like a time warp. But anyway, it's a really nice group. I love, most everyone I've met. I'll say everyone. It's really pretty close. And hang out for a while, before the spaghetti dinner is kind of nice too. So yeah, it was fun. I'm gratified, and it really, Phil does such an amazing thing out of nothing up there, that to be a part of that is always gratifying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You'll be there soon.
I don't know about that, but it, just going back to kind of that thanks, I think that's, that was kind of the Vermont, like they wanted to acknowledge your contributions, like your consistency and keep continuing to come back. That's what.
Yeah, I appreciated it. It's a part of my life that you guys know a lot about, but people here, they'll catch glimpses of it on Facebook and go, "You do that?" I'm going, "Oh yeah, and this is why." So, it's cool.
Tell us a little bit more about how you even got into. So you alluded to your youth in a dry county in Texas.
Oh my!
How'd you end up from going from Texas to Vermont?
Oh boy. Well, I did Air Force after a semester of college. I was a music major, and they were willing to let me enlist and be a musician in a couple different traveling bands. So I did that for a few years, left to go into the ministry, it's like a whole different life. And it was really the Southern Baptists who sent me everywhere. Brazil for a summer, ended up working for them in Connecticut, a couple of colleges as a chaplain, Coast Guard Academy and Conn College, went back to Louisville to do seminary, and then back to New England to work at Dartmouth and a couple of colleges as a chaplain again. And finally, I left the ministry. I was, as a Southern Baptist, went crazy. I just said, yeah, I'm not going to do this. And I was getting more pretty open-minded for a little East Texas boy. But I was a Southern Baptist seminary student working as a ecumenical college chaplain, attending a New Year's Eve retreat at a Franciscan lay center, reading a Quaker author. So at that point, I knew I was in trouble. Southern Baptist and I were not going to be together for long, and that lasted about another 3 years, I think. So I stayed in New England, and it's just, kind of looked for different careers and settled on, realized I had a skill at working with kids who had been traumatized and had trouble in the educational system. I mean, I grew up bored in school and college, and a little trauma of my own. And I think there was an understanding there and a purpose that I found. But so, I've been in Vermont for 35 years, something like that. Longer if you count bouncing back and forth. Dartmouth is on the border with Vermont. So, yeah, I just have settled up here kayaking for my wife, and I bought a kayak together. Grew up canoeing and rowing, but kayaking was Vermont when we got married. So a succession of boats later, I think we have about 7 now, 6 or 7.
Does your wife enjoy kayaking as well?
She does, not the distance, but her family has a place out in the Finger Lakes, so we're in the boats every day pretty much, and then we're about 2 miles from Lake Champlain and live on a river that feeds into Lake Champlain. So we're down. Oh. We try once a week, but sometimes it doesn't work but we have our favorite beaches. Yeah.
Can you just hop in the river by your house and go down to the lake?
7 miles later. No, it's not. We've done it. It's not a lot of fun. You get there and you go, oh shit, we've got to get back. And it's upstream. So we're kind of like, we'll do parts of the river. So. Got
it. What about have you hit your limit distance-wise with kayaking for swimmers? Like length, duration. Let's go with duration.
I caught you, but then I heard the double meaning going, well, maybe yes to one and no to the other. No, I
What's the longest straight that you sat? I know 14 hours for me. What's the longest you sat in a kayak with?
I think let's see. Yeah, yours and Katie Blair is the other person I've made it. You were both around 13 and a half, 14 hours. I have to show off. So with Katie's, she had planned to run back.
That's right, yeah.
And I just said, well, I'll bike with you. So the bike went north, about 4 or 5 hours out. She's going, I'm not running. I went, just wait, So no, she didn't run. I'm glad she didn't. It was a little hillier than I think would have been fun. So I'm going, well, the bike's here. I'll bike back. So I biked the 35 miles back, and that's my show-off day. Right. That was my 60 years. I was 60 years old that year. Oh, cool. So I went, yeah, this is good. Starting a new job like 2 weeks later. So it was fun. So no, I don't think I've done that. I think Scar might be interesting if it's one of those years. And I think maybe Eight Bridges is a little more, there are parts of the Manhattan 20 bridges that's a little tough. I didn't even try to do a feed the first hour and a half, which threw off my swimmer, but I couldn't. I mean, it was just rock and roll between tides and currents and ferry boats warming up and planes landing. And, it's a interesting first couple of hours. But we did fine after that. But all the work was at the beginning and at the end. So the middle is like, okay, it's pretty placid. And the river, once you get in the Hudson, it just shoots you down to the piers. So that's
you're having to like back paddle at that point?
A little bit. I didn't realize it until there was this buoy. I didn't know it was a buoy that we were coming up on the Manhattan side. And it looked like a periscope from a distance because this water is just streaming around us. I think it's coming toward us. No, it's just a buoy that the water of current is, and I'm just going, okay, now I understand. Because I knew it was easy. I just didn't know totally why. So a little physics lesson for me. So I'm looking forward to, I don't know what. I've thought about paddling back at Memphre.
I was wondering, if you would do a double. Would you do a double?
I wish I had. I'm not wish, but I forget who I was with the night Sarah Thomas did hers, her double, but I was on the other leg of that. So yeah, I would love to do longer just to see. I've got an invite to do a 75-mile one this winter or late fall in the Caribbean. I don't know if it'll work just because the daughter wants to go back to China in September, and being away 3 or 4 weeks in September and then 2 weeks in October I might be stretching things a little here at the household.
Right. Yeah.
I'm the cook.
I see. The cook's got to be there. Oh man, what other questions do I have for you?
Well, how did you get into long distance, the open water? I mean, Newport had to have been a part of it, but were you doing it before Newport?
No, not at all. No, my story's out there. You can go listen to it, Gary. I'll send you a
Yes, ma'am. Fine. Somebody doesn't like talking about themselves, do they?
It's much more fun to hear other people. At least for
Fair
me.
Enough.
Let's see. So we talked about you haven't hit your limit yet. That's good. I'm trying to see if there's any other questions here.
Hubris. That's my hubris.
Your hubris. Do you think that that's kind of a required skill for a kayaker to have a little bit of hubris going in?
Yeah, because you don't know. I mean, you don't know what you're going to get into. And you can show no fear because you guys are like little black holes of emotion before your swims. And if I'm sketchy at all, you're going to pick up on that and go, oh, he's afraid. What are we going to do? And so I'm going,
Just have to let it roll off. That's good.
How
about that? Yeah. Do you have any, if there was someone out there who was an aspiring marathon kayaker, do you have any recommendations for them?
Well, I've tried to talk a couple people into it, and I think I like both parts. I like being helpful, and I like the exertion of the kayaking. I love the skills needed for the kayaking. So I'm sort of a good hybrid for the sport. Otherwise, you've got to, there are some people who love being helpful, but the kayaking is a little of a stretch.
Right.
And then others who love to kayak, but helping somebody and paying attention and being side by side. Yeah. So it really is find part of it that you like and sort of put up with the other until you build those connections. And once you build a connection with somebody, particularly if you're doing it for them over and over, it gets easier because then you're taking care of a friend while you're doing something you really like.
Yeah.
Or you're picking up new kayaking skills while helping out somebody, which might be what you want. So, but the community is really the draw. You guys are an amazing community. That you do what you do is still amazes me. That the commitment, just that you're going to do 14 hours, that you're going to put your head down and do this one thing for 14 hours is just stupefying. I don't know how you do it. I mean, I'm an ADHD guy and I'm just going, I can't even do the crew boats anymore because I just go to sleep because I'm bored. But, I can paddle at 4 a.m. and be fine.
Huh.
But that you guys are doing this for 14 hours is just crazy. It's amazing.
I think we're just
and
as
so
in
you're
awe
fun to be around.
I think we're just as in awe of you that you would want to be in a kayak for 14 hours. So it makes it a good match, I guess.
Well, as you experienced, I get a little grumpy after about 11. So, it's that last bit, you got to put up with Gary until we get in the pontoon boat heading back. And then he goes, yeah, I've been a shit. I'm sorry. This was a great day, and let's do it again. So, yeah, it's we're in the adventure together. So, that's kind of what makes it okay.
Is that do you think that's the draw? You had talked about it earlier too, like this is my adventure for the year. So you just kind of look at it as like, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to sign myself up for some adventure this year.
Yep. And I'm going to bring every little frickin' piece of gear I've got just in case, because I don't know. I mean, I ran out of lights for you. It's like one broke, as I was packing up the boat that day, and it's just like, oh, okay, this is no more excuse to buy things. Cool. So yeah, I think that's it. I mean, it really is. We've signed up with each other. We're going to trust each other. You had more than that. If we were doing Border Buster, that's a little different. That's just you and me for 15 miles. And there's a different level of trust. Memphre, you've got that. Now we've got the pontoon boat. And that's really who you're keying on. I'm just keeping you from going to the other side of the lake. We've kind of boxed you in.
Yeah.
And, I'll be a little bit of comfort for you or company for you, but it's
helpful. Well, especially that beginning in the fog, that was critical.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Memphre always seems to have a little wrinkle. 1 year was lightning, heat lightning. It's like, oh, okay, that's different.
Yeah. How about Liz pointed out that I could ask questions, ask of swimmers too. So when the wind kicks up, so the bay is nice and calm, you get out in the bay, the wind kicks up. How do you kind of adapt to that, especially kind of thinking like emotionally versus like technically?
Yeah. Well, I think you expect it. I mean, at this point, it's like Memphre is a big ass lake. 25 miles. It's got big stretches. North and south. It's going to do something. So, can I say at this point it's done all of it? No. I mean, we haven't done wet, rain and wind, which that lake can do. Champlain's the same way. It's got that long corridor as well. But it's, you just expect expect that it's going to be a little crazy, that you're going to see more for some reason. Most years is wet and windy. And so you kind of, once you've done it a couple of times, you just kind of go, it's wet. You've got your raincoat. You're going to get wet anyway. What's the big deal?
Mm-hmm.
Then it's just like, how do you keep the swimmer's spirits up when every time their arm comes out, it gets wet and cold when the water itself is kind of warm. So, that's always in there. How do you guys handle it as well?
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the fun things that marathon swimmers get to try to tackle. But I appreciate though that you check it off as you take it as a responsibility to keep the swimmer spirits up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I
Thank
think.
you for that.
Oh, sure. Well, I mean, Heather Perry is, one of my favorite swimmers, and our first was a Seymour that was like that, windy and rainy. And I'm just kind of going, I've got my little hat, my straw hat, and we're, it's like, what's the big deal? And I think it reassured her that, because she was going to feel responsible for me, that I'm out in this weather and doing this. And I'm just going, hell, I'd be in a kayak anyway. Got company. What more could I want? I got my chai. I'm got the chai. I'm happy. So it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. It's sort of like the golfers saying, the worst day of golfing is better than any other day doing anything else. That's sort of my idea with kayaking, with you guys or not.
Good. Okay, now I feel like I have a bunch of questions and we are running out of time. But I'm curious though,
I'll
just because you mentioned that you went down to Manhattan. So how did you prepare to paddle in this whole new place? Guy from rural Vermont going down to New York.
Yeah, I was definitely the country mouse on that trip. Well, that one is, I think it's tough for out of town kayakers because, particularly first time I knew I could rent a boat. I just didn't know what the boat would be like, what the kayak would be like. Right. So there was that whole thing around, okay, so I'm going to lug the kayak. So I drive, 7.5 hours to come down with my, kayak, and I get this ratty Airbnb north of town because I've got the kayak on the boat. I don't want to get stolen. So, because I'm out of luck the next day and pissed. So it was more logistical than mental. I mean, I knew it was going to be tricky. I didn't know where it was going to be tricky. I tried to quiz people about it, but I think once you've done same paddle a few times, you don't really realize where it might be tricky for a new person.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think we're spoiled with Phil's swims because other than like Echo Lake, it's like you bring your kayak to the beach, you take off from the beach, and you come back to the beach. Manhattan is not that way. It's, one ladder that everybody's using to get in, and then getting out. That day there was no ladder. Greta Thunberg had shown up in her sailboat from Europe for the UN, and they had blocked off the one ladder we could use to get out. So you're kind of having to stand up in your boat and get out that way. Didn't work for Gary. He ended up in the water. So, there's just logistics that are different, and you try to find them out. And then if you don't find them out, you just kind of roll with the tide. It was a lot of fun. It's probably the most technical kayaking I've done ever for the start and the end. Mm-hmm. Fighting my way back up the Hudson to get to the cove was also, they gave me a jet ski. They're going, oh God, this new guy wouldn't even get in the boat with somebody. And, so we have to babysit him as he's getting back to North Cove, but it worked out. It was a fun day.
Would you go back to Manhattan?
If you'll do it. I'll go with you.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah. I would. I think, now it's rent one of Alex's boats. I know where to park. I know where the spots are, get on the boat with my swimmer afterwards rather than fight, a mile back up river against the tide. That was a little stupid after a long day. Well, it just puts everybody else out because they're worried about you as the new guy. get a slower swimmer. I ended up out in front a couple of times. I don't know the route or the river or where the currents. I don't know the currents well enough to know where to go, and just kept hearing my number called out by different people who were getting slightly, progressively angry at me. Not angry, but put off by me. Is this guy going to answer us? And I'm waving. I'm going, yeah, I got it. But if I do the radio, I can't paddle.
Right.
It was an interesting day. It's huge compared to what I'm used to. So,
right.
But anyway, it was fun. I would do it again.
Awesome.
And I got to see Janine off and on all day. So, what more could I want?
Yay. Awesome.
And Manuela. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you so much, Gary. Thank you
sure.
for sharing your story. I hope you enjoyed today's interview. Do you want to take Marathon Swim Stories with you? Subscribe on your favorite podcast provider. Want to connect with like-minded limit pushers? Join us for Marathon Swim Stories live on Tuesdays at 5:30 a.m. Pacific, 8:30 Eastern, 13:30 GMT. Thanks for watching.